There we are. Let me open this up. Or try to. It's not opening. Ah! Hey guys, welcome to Murder by Design. I'm Brande.
And I'm Stella. Good evening.
So
Nice
different face for everybody. Fancy is packing. she's a busy girl this weekend. So
No.
Stella is joining me. Let's see. I'm trying to open up our comment section, and it just
I got it. Let's see. And when we say she's packing, she's not packing a pistol.
No, she's
no murders on this end
that we know of.
Right. Not tonight, anyway.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why it just put that there. So there we go. Y'all, Fancy always does this. I never run this. Sorry. All right. So real quick, I'm going to give a few true crime updates. I'm trying to do that earlier in the day, and it just is not happening yet. It'll get there. But we have updates on Letitia Stalk. Y'all, I can't with this woman. I can't. She had a court appearance this morning. And I got to open these things up on Twitter from Spencer Wilson, because he goes in there every court appearance. And so today, I don't remember what it was supposed to be about originally, but they were discussing, they gave her all of her information, case files, which is like 26,000 pages or something like that. And when she gets into the jail, they take them from her.
So when is she supposed to prep?
Well, the reason they took it is because they're not redacted. So everybody's information, their phone numbers, their addresses, names, everything is in there. And they're worried about it being a liability. I mean, and it is. Those prisoners can get that information and God knows what happens. So, but at the same time, this affects her ability for her case. And she's only allowed 2 hours. Poor thing. She's only allowed 2 hours on the computer. So
2 hours a day?
2 hours a day in the library on the computer. So, because they were like, well, we can give her the thumb drive. And then they're like, well, that's not enough time to read all this stuff. So what they're doing is giving her, they're printing out the case files with redacted information, where the names and addresses, all the legal stuff that other people do not need to have. To
protect the innocent.
To protect the innocent. And her comment was, the redaction process of evidence pages bullshit.
That's what she said?
So it pissed her off because they're redacting things. I mean, she got to stop and think about that. They can't have prisoners sending out information to hurt people or threaten witnesses or anything like that. She's stupid. She's so stupid. And I think that, the next trial is May 20th.
The next hearing?
The next hearing. They said there could be something at the end of March on the evidence stuff or something, but right now the next hearing is May 20th.
Well, does she have a trial date yet?
No, not until they get all this process going. And so we'll see how it goes. Fancy and I did an interview the other day with Kirk Nurmi, which was Jodi Arias's attorney.
Right.
And we had a really wonderful conversation with him about Letitia. He gave us some amazing information, and we will be releasing that soon. So make sure to be watching Murder by Design for that.
Hit when is that going to be?
Bell. We don't have an exact date. Maybe next week.
I love Kirk.
Fingers crossed. Kirk is wonderful.
He is so man. Fun. He's a gentleman.
He is hilarious. Oh,
very funny.
Lord. He is. I laughed. It's a little tidbit of something I keep sharing because it was funny. He said something about crap, and he said, and that is a legal term. Every time I hear crap, I follow by with, that's a legal term. You had to be a part of the conversation to think it was that funny, but And so the next one that I have is Derek Chauvin, which is the cop that is charged with George Floyd's murder. His trial starts next week. We should be, I think we're sharing that. And I do not know why it is not giving me the chat room.
That's
I don't know. It is very weird. Usually there's a chat room over here and it's not here. So if anybody's commenting, I'll open up YouTube in a minute. I'm so sorry because it's not.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any chats, but I'll go on my cell phone. I'm all geared up, guys.
It usually pops over on the right-hand side.
Yeah, but there's nothing there. No comments, no private chat.
And it's not opening. No. I mean, this is StreamYard's being stupid.
Tonight. Okay, just so saying. I will.
But they did come back on Derek Chauvin and say, let me open it up so I have it right, because I never run this. Sorry. All right. So turn your volume down.
I just did. I'm sorry. I thought I had it on. Oh, I had the ringer and everything on mute. Okay. Oh, wait. Someone just said hello to us. Okay.
Okay. There
it is. All right.
There was nothing. Usually gives me option, and it ain't giving nothing. Hey, Adriana. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Adriana. Happy Friday night.
Court of Appeals rules against the trial court for Minnesota. You know, they had dropped the third-degree murder charge on him. And I don't remember, I think it was unconstitutional or whatever. Well, they have come in. The court's procedural opinion in Noor became binding authority on the date when filed, which would have been today, I believe. The district court, therefore, erred by concluding that it will not bound by the principles of the law set forth in Noor by denying the state's motion to reinstate the charge of third-degree murder. So they're reversing the order of the district court and remand reconsideration for the state's motion. What they are doing is they are making sure there are plenty of charges on him so that something sticks. Yeah. A lot of times, I think we saw that with Casey Anthony. There wasn't enough. They could not decide with just the one charge. They needed, if they'd have put some other murder charges on there, they probably would have gone lesser or manslaughter or something. And a lot of times juries can't decide on the greater of the charges, but can go lesser. So if you throw them all on there, they'll pick something.
Yeah, just throw them against the wall.
And I think that's what they're doing here. I think that's their safeguard to make sure they get their conviction on this man. And I am curious and anxious to see this trial. I want to see everything they have. It is. It's also going to be a scary time, depending on what.
Yes, it is.
And I feel for the jurors on that case.
I do.
They have a huge burden and a huge weight to deal with. I always want to be on a jury. This is one jury I wouldn't want.
No.
I don't think I would want this one.
No. Me either.
Give me a serial killer. Give me anything. But this one is this one's rough. So another case that was in our I got to do this one. Roger Kibbe. If that rings a bell for anybody.
No.
Roger Kibbe is the I-5 strangler.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to say, don't drive I-5. There are so many murderers and serial killers that happen on the I-5. Stay off I-5. I actually had just read a book on Roger Kibbe, and I thought it was on the I-5 killer, which was Randall Woodward. And I had already read one book about him and a couple podcasts, and it's a case that Fancy and I'll be talking about in the near future. And the book that I got, and they're going on the story, and I'm like, this is not Randall Woodward. Who are they talking about? And it was Roger Kibbe's. And I was like, oh, there's a whole nother I-5 killer here. He was convicted.
Not to interrupt. Is that part of the killing field? That stretch?
Is it?
Where the man who does the search and rescue for the missing kids now, the older gentleman.
I think it is. I think that's all in that area.
It's all of that. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that is. Thank you, Adriana. Yeah, we're all doing really good. Texas is at beautiful weather. I mean, it's Texas. That can change in an hour.
Oh, it's freezing in New Jersey. Oof.
Really? It was.
It's so cold.
Yesterday was like 74. Today was like 60. I had to turn my heater back on. So, I mean, that just tells you we go all
It's
over.
30 something here today. Not
Oh,
cold.
wow.
It feels like it should snow, but it's so windy. I mean, but next week it's going to be in the 60s. So that's what I'm
There
looking
you
forward
go. I like
to.
60s and
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah, we got
But
it
anyway,
coming.
Roger was convicted, and his first conviction was, let's see, let me make sure I have it right, because he had one conviction where he got 24 years to life, and then they went back and he pled on the other ones and got life without possibility of parole.
Really?
There's like 7 or 8 murders. Like the first one was like in 1977, and then there was like a whole string of them. He let's see, May 10th, 1991, he was sentenced to 25 years to life. Sorry, not 24 years, 25 years to life. And then the other happened after that. Well, Sunday, they found him dead in his cell.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He had been murdered by his cellmate, and they did come back today with it was manual strangulation. So he was murdered. I mean, I guess
Karma's a bitch sometimes.
Justice happens. I mean, that's how he killed his victims. And karma.
They were fighting over something.
I'm gonna come back and bite you in the ass quick. And there you go.
Hey.
I didn't read any further on what all they were fighting on. I don't think all that's been released.
Oh yeah, it was
yet.
something. It was something ridiculous. It was something so ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure.
If there's such a thing.
So the other case that I have has been going on for a couple weeks now, and they had some things in it today. And actually, I'm kind of upset with myself. I did not know this case, and it's another child murder case. And little James Hutchinson, 6 years old, had been murdered by his mother. Believed to be dead after his mother and her boyfriend allegedly admitted to killing him and dumping his body in the Ohio River. Brittany Gosney, 29, and James Hamilton, 42, have been arrested. Just absolutely disgusting. But this week, they've been doing a search of the river, looking for him. The other children have stepped in. I don't think they have found him yet, but I believe it has come out that the boyfriend wanted her to get rid of him, and they tried to abandon him, and then she killed him. It is.
Why couldn't she just drop him off to the fire station, to the hospital? There's so many people that would do anything to get a baby. Regardless of what their age is, a baby, a toddler.
The thing is they now have what is the act? What is it called? Where if you can take your child to like a church or fire station, police station.
Correct. It doesn't have to be an infant.
Child with them,
of course, no questions asked. And no questions asked.
Take your kid to somebody that can help him, and there's no sense in killing them. This little boy is precious. He is the cutest little boy. I'm definitely going to be following this case a little bit more. It just popped up. Somebody shared it on Facebook, and I'm like, ooh, what is this? And it kind of went on with this week. Let's see. There was something else that they had shared about it, and it wasn't in that article, which is why I'd even found it. Let's see.
I think it should be an automatic death sentence.
Yeah.
You kill it, you baby killer. There's no reason, especially now they've made these laws easy,
right,
for them to just discard their child, and that's okay to do so because there's so many loving people out in this world that will be happy to adopt.
Right.
How many police officers adopt these little babies that they find? So many. I mean, so many. You always hear a story. This one police officer, I just watched it on YouTube not too long ago, and the woman was pregnant and clearly using, and he intervened and took her to the hospital to get her help, and she couldn't she knew she didn't want the baby. She put her other ones up for adoption, but he already had 4 or 5 of his own children. One was just an infant, and he adopted the baby at birth. He and his wife. Wow. I mean, it was a beautiful story.
Oh, so
and there's sweet. So many. There would be so many happy endings, and we wouldn't have to have these conversations.
There would. There are, like Baby Evelyn. I'm curious to see where her case goes, and we don't hear much about it. And there's just, these are senseless murders. These are just, you can understand when somebody kills a spouse or a girlfriend or a stranger, because there's something that's clicked. But a child is innocent.
Oh my God.
They're the most innocent, and it just doesn't. They are the hardest cases to talk about sometimes, and keep your composure. Half the time I don't keep my composure.
Well, that's what got me started, was back in the day, Lisa Steinberg, man. Oof.
When Gannon Stalk was found, I cried. We went live and talked about it, and I bawled. The same with the Vallow children when they discovered their bodies. I was trying to get through it. I was like, I gotta go, guys, and I shut it down. I couldn't do it because I was just with Vallow. We were hoping you still had that. Hopefully she hid them somewhere in this weird thing, and it ended up not being the case, and it was just gut-wrenching. So usually I do a true crime in history for this week, and I had a few that I wanted to do, but then I found this one, and it's not from this week, but I'm not waiting until September or July to do this, because this is the craziest story. It is. I had to go look it up. I had seen a small tidbit. I'm like, there's more to this. I have to find it. And so, it was 2016 in Brooklyn, New York. Josette Buckman's estranged sister-in-law was in the hospital, elderly in a hospital kind of thing. So Buckman agreed to drop by the woman's home and pack a few of her belongings. Now, she was a hoarder, so that'll tell you it was probably not really good in that house. Her widowed sister-in-law, Rita Wolfenshawn, was legally blind and had lived alone since her adult son, Lewis, moved out 20 years earlier. Okay. She was known hoarder, and so Bookman expected to find a mess, and a mess she found. Along with the nightmare that likely haunts her to this day, in the second-floor bedroom filled with trash and smelling of garbage, she found a skeleton lying in the bed wearing jeans, socks, and a shirt. The body turned out to be the nephew at Lewis Wolfenshawn, who was supposed to have moved out 20 years before. Though a tactful investigator reportedly compared the case to the reverse psycho scene, it's not sinister as it sounds. Lewis died of natural causes, and his mother never even realized that he was up there. She truly believed he had moved out. After the discovery, Rita was moved to an assisted living facility. Her only other child died in 2003, but not in this house. They now believe that the pervasive smell and the rotting garbage covered any odor of decomposition, and that she never would have known. She just thought he moved out 20 years before.
But he never, I guess he didn't send her a Mother's Day card. I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe there was some issues, and I mean, 20 years and you never hear from your
That
kid.
Sounds like a Criminal Minds episode.
It really does. They should be something like with,
that's a spooky one.
When I was like, okay, I have to read this because this is just too bizarre not to talk about. I mean,
or something that the Gallaghers would do on Shameless.
But I mean, hoarding cases, I can't watch the hoarders buried alive. That it freaks me out.
I get itchy, and I get my skin is crawling. My anxiety.
Because I am a pack rat. I have crap everywhere, and I start looking, going, I'm throwing shit away. Turn it out. I'm not gonna do that.
I better, because in case of anything happening here, I might be featured on something. A true crime show or pack rats.
But yeah, 20 years dead upstairs. I mean, can you imagine how bad the smell in the house must have been for her to not smell that? But my thing is, 20 years, why did nobody try to get her help?
Well,
if the house was
I guess the show didn't go to her house. I guess her
evidently
neighbors did.
Buried Alive didn't go to her. I'm just saying.
I mean, I can't.
It is just. See, that's why I had to do this one, because that's just strange. It's odd. So odd.
I mean, wouldn't they have seen crows flying around the house or maggots or something somewhere?
Wouldn't maggots have been going like out the windows and flies?
I would think they would, and then their larvae would turn into something else.
And she had neighbors. There were people right there. So how did they not see her? I don't know.
It sounds very suspicious in Children of the Corn to me. That's another one that scares the crap out of me. And I walk around and I look, oh, that's like a child at Children of the Corn right there. I can't.
That's funny. So, tonight, Stella and I are going to continue talking about Amber Hilberling. Fains and I talked about her 2 weeks ago, and didn't finish off. We'd had a long night. 2 hours and didn't really get through the case. And it wasn't because we were talking about the case. We was all over the place that night. It was a fun night. But we're going to continue. If you aren't familiar with the case, Amber Hilberling was a young married woman, pregnant. Her and her husband were having an argument. There was a very tumultuous relationship. And in the argument, she pushes him and he ends up, they were in a high-rise apartment and he hits the window, falls out. There's a whole lot that goes with that. She was tried and convicted. The jury only spent 3.5 hours on her conviction. And that is very short. I feel like when they went in there,
they knew they were just going to,
minds were made.
I just think that they were so jealous of her. She was beautiful, and she was well-to-do. Her parents,
the media played it.
They had a
she was a beauty queen, and this
come on. I just think, come on, if those windows, how many stories was that?
Oh Lord, they were
in 35th,
17th floor, way up there, something like that. There was caulking around the windows.
I know.
To keep that in. And he, just a few hours before this, he had thrown a laundry basket, and it broke the window in the bedroom. So that tells you how fragile these windows were.
Well, they said those windows were not good.
They were
for that side, for the structure.
They were not up to code.
They were not up to code for the structure of the building.
They were up to code for apartment complexes
that were low
and built right, but not for a high-rise.
Correct.
Apartment building. And
I remember.
To me, they should have gone after the apartment people. In my
absolutely,
opinion. They were liable for this.
Absolutely, yes. I don't
think
she deserved.
Amber was guilty of causing the death. Her actions caused a snowball of effect to happen. And look, y'all, so distracted.
What?
Can you see my nails?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if they were camouflage or are they for St. Patrick's Day?
It's for St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
But it's a story, y'all.
They look lovely, but there's the glitter inside.
It's a gel polish.
It's beautiful.
That they do with magnets. They do that gel polish with magnets, and it
stop.
The light caught it, and totally little squirrel moments. Sorry, everybody. Hey, Natalie, thanks for joining us.
Natalie's my friend.
Hi, Sensible Crime. Welcome, everybody. So, if Amber had taken the plea deal that they offered her, she'd have served 5 years. She would have served good for what she'd already been in, would have come off of that. There's a lot of things they give them, good behavior, classes you take, things, and they take off the sentence. She would have already been out of prison in like 3.5 years or 5 years or something like that.
Probably less.
So she
thought, she could win this.
Yeah. And if she would have had impartial jury, I think she would have. They convicted her strictly on her looks, on her money, on
her breast implants.
Right. Because she had breast implants by the time she was 19 and always put together and she looked nice when she went into court. Was she supposed to look like the homeless chick on the side of the road?
No.
I mean, you want to look nice and pretty.
She was the Southern Belle, man. Why would you go? Right. Why would you?
I mean, she wasn't. If she would have been dressed in jeans with holes in them and t-shirts, they'd have said she was being a slut anyway. So she was damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I get so frustrated with juries that go in looking at the way a woman looks. We don't judge how a man looks when he goes to court. His hair's too long or he's got too many tattoos.
So maybe what they're going to start to do is make them wear uniforms like they did for like public schools, and you're not supposed to wear certain kinds of sneakers because of gang activity and whatnot. So maybe
I don't even know if that would help.
No.
I don't. Because
why does the financial aspect have to be brought in?
Right. Well, you have cases like this. You have cases of Darlie Routier, who was convicted strictly because she played they had a silly string video at the graveside. Well, they didn't play the hour-long memorial service they'd had before that. They bitched about her chewing bubble gum. I'm sorry. In the 90s, we chewed bubble gum.
Darlie was innocent. Is innocent, and I hope she gets out.
She's a dear friend. I write her often. Paige and I are going to do some stuff on her, and here soon. And
I've always been her biggest advocate since day one. I remember that happening.
The fun thing with Darlie is the Innocence Project does have her case. Innocence Project, I think in New York, has her case.
I'm thrilled about that.
They're working on some DNA stuff that they have that's never been tested. There's a fingerprint that never has been matched to anybody that had been in the home, including police and paramedics. There is a lot of evidence, and there's some stuff she can't share. She's like, there's some of it that is I can't share, and she's like, I can't wait till I can share. And so, but they convicted her because she had bleach blonde hair, boob job, and makeup, and jewelry, and a $500,000 house. Yeah, and
I mean, come on now, really?
I mean, it didn't with her. It did not help that her husband says, well, their kids, one's dead, one's nearly dying, and Darlie's got this massive gash on her neck. Check out her boobs, aren't they cool? I paid for those. Darren's a pig. But, that's a whole nother story.
I'll tell you what one of my theories with that was, how do we know that he wasn't the intruder and he thought that she was dead? Never. I mean, I know it's a little far-fetched, but come on. She wasn't the only one in the house that night. Mm-mm. And she loved her babies.
Well, and that was one thing everybody kept saying. She kept saying, my babies, my babies. She never said their name, so she was detached. No, she's detached. Southern. Y'all, my kids are 24, 28, and 30, or 27 and 30, and I still say my babies.
Me too.
They're my babies. We're Southern.
Of course.
It's our babies. And I don't think, I can't see that would have been being detached.
That wasn't detached. She was hysterical.
And we were in the ambulance and headed to the ER. I didn't call him Chris. I was my baby, my son.
Save my baby. Save my child to my baby.
And just so, I don't know. Totally off topic. Sorry again. But I am very passionate about Darlie's case. Darlie's case is my one true passion that I kind of get really wrapped up in. So let me see, where did we left off at?
Forgive me, everyone, because I'm going to use my iPad to be a part of the contributing tonight with this case.
And I totally opened up,
which I was absolutely, and I told you how shocked I was.
Yes. So
I just thought she was in jail, and that was the end of it until I researched it the night you did it 2 weeks ago. I had no idea.
So Amber was in prison. She served 3.5 years and was found in her cell hanging by a curling iron cord at 5:30 p.m., which is a time that is a social time. They're not usually alone. They're usually out in their social area. People were moving all around, all over the prison, high traffic, not like a bedtime kind of thing. And there were cameras everywhere. There is no footage of this happening. There's no explanation of why she was in her cell. The family gets a phone call, and the phone call simply says she's dead. There's no, and hangs up. There's no Mrs. So-and-so, this is so-and-so from the prison, and I hate to tell you, but we found your daughter dead. Nothing like that. Just she's dead and a hang up. Now, somebody did call from inside the prison and told them to make sure they investigated. The reports are Amber was highly focused on being there for her son because his dad was gone and she was all he had. They were in constant contact with Levi. The one thing I loved was that Levi said that the prison was his mommy's house and she was so beautiful. That to me was just like, oh man, gut punch. People who commit suicide usually are very depressed. They have no hope. They feel like people would be better off without them, and that there's just no future. And none of that whatsoever fits with Amber. None. They were working on an appeal for Amber. Right. They had some really good news. Amber was very focused on just either getting out or finishing up and being there for her baby. Levi was her world.
And he went to visit her quite often, right? Her parents made sure that he was there and he knew where he was going.
I think they did weekly visits, or
I think weekly, whenever they could on the weekends. I believe so.
He was there in phone calls with her every day, and I mean, they were in constant contact. 24 hours before she died, she wrote a letter to the local news station and sent it. Now, it arrived a day after her death, and it wasn't open for 4 more days. So 5 days after her death, they finally opened this letter. And she says to them she is willing to do the interview because she couldn't give up hope that in using her voice in the conversation about her own life, that it was the only chance for her own reality and to be free, and for Levi. Now, she was found with meth in her system, and according to records, they refused the family a second autopsy. They had hired a doctor to do an autopsy, or they had a friend that was offering to do the autopsy.
Wasn't her stepfather a doctor?
Yes.
Right. He's the best of the best around him.
Right, and they refused it. They would not let the family, which I think is bullshit. Their excuse was, I wouldn't want somebody else watching me do my job. Well, we all have bosses and subordinates that watch us do a job. So that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. There were scratches on the left side of her neck, and then abrasions on the right side, and a red-purple bruise on her jaw, which is, like, to me, very...
Maybe somebody knocked her out.
Hit her, you know. Mm-hmm. These marks were so bad that they had to use a turtleneck at her funeral. So these weren't just like she did herself. These were really bad marks. They couldn't cover them with makeup. Yeah.
This saddens me.
It is very, 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 very sad.
And I listened to her mother's interview and her dad, and I cannot believe how they were treated by the system.
They were horribly treated. There was a letter sent. I was going to try to share it, but I'm afraid it will mess up because I haven't had to do that yet on this program. So there is a letter was sent to Rhonda, her mother.
See what Sensible just wrote? Sensible crime. I have never heard of a family being refused a chance to a second autopsy. I thought that was an automatic, or why wasn't the body released to them and then they could have done it, or they can't do it?
Right.
I mean, I'm a little confused by that too, Sensible.
Especially if the family's paying for it. I get it if the state doesn't want to pay for it because they're not gonna, it's just not common. That didn't make sense. That to me is a red flag. Extremely red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And this next email, it's on In Loving Memory of Amber Hilberling on Facebook. So if you want to go look it up, that's where it is at. And it says, and I'm going to read it, what is in it. And so it may be kind of weird sounding, but this comes from another inmate. And there's a name in here. And we can look up the name while we're doing this if we want. But it says, I am a former inmate at MBCC. I was not only her college classmate, but her friend. Amber was a dedicated and loving mother of her sweet, precious son, Levi. I will never forget the last class that I had with Amber, which was speech class with Miss Zook. Is this not it? Let's see. This might not be the one I wanted. Anyways, I'll read it away. So, at Rose State College, she did a speech on her situation that led her to prison, which turned to be the most passionate speech for all of her classmates and instructors alike. The death of her late husband was indeed tragic accident, so she would never do such a heinous act with intention. Amber was very upfront with the fact that their marriage wasn't perfect. She knew they both had room to grow. The common denominator was the well-being of their son, mutually agreed. The week of her death, she proudly showed off new pictures of her precious son at a photo shoot her parents had done of him. He was the most handsome, innocent, and sweet. I know she had no intention of leaving him ever. It was not suicide. Everyone knows that. Amber, we love and miss you. We know that your death was not your own will. I know I will always fight for you. Let's see. That is not the one that I wanted. It is very sad. Hold on, let me find the other one.
I have to tell you that after she went to jail for the murder of her husband, I thought that was the end of the case. It wasn't until 2 weeks ago. And when I read that she was dead, I mean, I think you could see my expression. I had no idea. I don't know how that one missed me. How that
it didn't get any press. Nobody talked about it. It was completely hidden and shoved under the rug, and that was it. Now, why can't I find this letter? And I'm so mad at myself that I had the wrong one. Hold on, I'm looking.
Terrible.
Just terrible. And she was so beautiful. Such a beautiful person.
They were a beautiful couple. I'm sorry that for both of them, they had everything going for them as a couple. Maybe they were just too young. It was such a tragic accident.
I think it was very tragically and young, and
the press had a field day with it. Because of her,
they were not ready for marriage. Neither one of them were. They were both just too young.
No,
I think that they were toxic together. They separately, they were beautiful, amazing people. Together, they were very toxic, and didn't know how to. And
they created a beautiful little boy.
They did.
For that, and I just have no words. Honestly, I know I sound like a broken record, but sometimes even me, that I'm such a talker and I have something to say about everything. This one just sucked the life out of me. Because I guess I always wanted a fairy tale ending for her, or a fairy for most.
Right.
If there were fairy tale endings, we wouldn't be having shows and there wouldn't be topics of this nature.
Right.
And there are a lot of injustices that are done. Not all of these women are murderers, and not all of these men are the killers either. I mean, there are a lot of wrongfully convicted people in jail forever, and there's no hope. And thank God for the Innocence Project, because as long as there's DNA in a case, there's always that possibility that somewhere down the line, they're going to revisit the case and take it on.
Right.
And
I think they've removed the emails. I'm going to try to find them again because I have them stored somewhere and I'll post them. But there was a letter sent from an inmate that said that there was a woman in prison for killing her lover the same way. And I believe that was the story. and that she was the one that did it. That this woman is the one who killed Amber. That she saw her, that they knew it, that they covered it up because they didn't want to be in trouble, and she named her. And so I got to look those up. I thought I had those pulled up. I had the wrong one pulled up, and I was rushing and didn't double read. And so I apologize for that. But she didn't commit suicide.
And hanging. Do females hang themselves?
My thing is, no. Most females,
they don't want to usually ruin their looks.
Typically women
not.
It'll be by either
drug overdose
or
cutting their wrist.
Drug overdose. Mm-hmm.
Correct. That's what I thought.
Yes.
There, we have a thing in our mind that we want to be beautiful and preserved and perfect.
What kind of prison was this that they had a curling iron in their cell?
Well, orange is the new black. They had curling irons in there. I don't think that's really allowed. I don't think that's the hair tool of choice.
Why? And that just doesn't sound right. And
I'm sure her parents would be able to say, well, where did she get a curling iron from? We never gave her one. She's not allowed to have one. Don't you agree?
Yes, you're right. Since there aren't many in prison, there's not many options to commit suicide. Usually those people are showing signs, and she was planning a future. And so
she wanted to be out with and get to her boy. They were going to appeal her. They were going to find an appeal. They were hiring. They had money. Her family was going to get the best of the best to get her out. Mm-hmm. They were fighting for her.
She, I had a train of thought and it just totally went elsewhere because the dog is snoring and it just made me go, what? I have a pug that snores like worse than a human.
Pugs. I love pugs.
He's a rescue and he's
bad. Well, my geriatric, he sleeps and snores, and I sometimes I forget, and I think, oh my God, there's a man in this room with me. Like, am I going to be on the next show? Like, is somebody going to have a show about me? And because he snores like it's a person, like, and I realize it. But when you're like sleeping and you wake up from that noise, that's snoring.
Yeah, especially when you're single and you're not used to somebody being in your home.
And I snore. Sometimes I wake myself up, but then I hear him snore. I'm like, oh my God.
But
my daughter says it sounds like feeding time at the zoo.
The drugs in her system, that doesn't, that's not a huge red flag to me. It's very, very common for them to use drugs in prison.
Yeah. And drugs, let's face it, drugs, cigarettes, those are bartering tools. So you're going to always have them.
I mean, is it okay? No, it's not okay, but it's very common. I mean, they're just trying to get through their days and it happens. And she was partaking before this. Her and Josh were both using, I think, mostly marijuana, but still it is, well,
smoking a joint doesn't, I mean, and I know I'm old, but I don't consider somebody smoking a joint a drug addict. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, I don't either.
People need to get past that and really look at, define a drug addict. I mean, I would think crack, or I would think something.
Well, and the other thing with this story that really, really breaks my heart is, I mean, not only
correct
Levi being without both parents. You know, I mean, his daddy is gone, and now his mom's gone, and that is a very hard road for a child.
And not to interrupt you, I heard, like, when I read, her parents adopted him only because legally they needed to adopt him, but they didn't want him to forget his mother and his father. Yeah. And they still say, we're your parents, but we're really still grandma and grandpa.
Last February, Rhonda shared, and I actually she's a friend of mine on Facebook now. I don't bother her because I'm just not doing that because this is already
no, of course
but
not.
She shares and she says he had his first dream of his mommy and daddy in heaven last night. He came to me this morning with a huge smile on his face and said, Mommy visited me from heaven last night, Mom. He calls her Mom, but right. Amber is Mommy. It was almost like she was alive. When everyone else forgets trauma and grief, we don't. We live it every day. It's been tough. Few months for 8-year-old Levi, but I'm glad to see a smile on his face today and hope that one dream gave him. He needed it. And that's rough. That's rough. And what gets me, this actually makes me angry because people are mean. And this little boy does not need to hear the crap. Quit calling his mother a murderer. Quit calling her the evil things you call her. He hears it. And it's not okay. And Stella, stop crying. It's rough. It's very rough. Here we are boohooing on camera.
Sorry, guys. We do but you are humanitarians too.
She says this is the aftermath of media's. Let me pull it back up. Let me go pull it back up because I'm gonna fight with the screen share because I want everybody to see these pictures. He drew.
Try to do your best. You know what you're doing on that other end. I wish I could help you. I just need a little etch-a-sketch here. Get me a little play school to try to figure it out.
Because these pictures are absolutely amazing, and
I saw some of his I saw some of his artwork, the little boy's school artwork, and his pictures. And he also got Mommy and Daddy, and he's always got a garden and a sunshine. That shows he's a happy little boy.
They tried to give him his own reality of what was going on. Mommy, this is Mommy's house, and this is, this is life. This is what we do, and this is what happened. And so he, in these pictures, okay, let me go here. Let me do this. Okay. Share screen. I think I have to do this.
Well, we can laugh and we can joke, and we'll try to do that to just kind of give ourselves a little bit of comic relief. But honestly, doing what we do, and sometimes we delve into these cases and we research these cases, and we need to call each other or text each other or get on a Zoom meeting so we're able to talk each other off the ledge and literally try to help each other emotionally and get it.
So is this on there?
It's on there, yes.
This is what is on Facebook. My messages are popping up.
Wow. He makes the most beautiful little pictures.
Yeah. He says, I was in my mom's stomach and my mom and dad got in a fight. My dad fell 25 stories high and my mom was blamed for it. And then my mom was in prison wrongly charged because of fake news.
Oh, fake news.
Me and my mom and dad, we would go visit her at the prison, and a woman named T that thought my mom was pretty, and I was jealous of her and killed her, and no one knew how I killed her. So I'm assuming this was the girl that murdered his mom.
Oh, boy.
This is what he saw, how he felt of what happened to his mother. Now we visit her grave each month and change the flowers all the time. No matter what happens, I really miss her. That is the life of a child who media forgets there's an innocent involved. And that's what he sees.
And we're looking at his world right there.
Yep. That is his whole world.
And
that is it.
I'm happy that her parents have him. It's an extension of their daughter. It's an extension of Amber.
It even with what we do, because we do talk about crimes, and we have to be extremely careful, because you know what? I don't ever want to make life rough for a child, because
children are off limits.
Right. Just because their parents murdered somebody doesn't mean they need to pay for that. And what we do and say can do that. It is it's a deadly slope, and you have to be careful. And so sadly, Amber's story does not have a happy ending.
No.
For her. It's a very long road for her son Levi. And
how old is he now? 7?
8.
He's 8 already.
I think he's 8. I think. Yes, 2011? 9.
No, she's going to be 10. This is 2021. So if he was born,
that's my grandson's age.
Wow.
Yeah.
See what he's had to endure all of his life.
Yeah, 8. He was 8 last year, so he's 9. Going on
9.
Yeah.
And she's deceased how long? When did all this happen? I mean, I could go back and look, but do you have that available?
Oh, Lord, let's see. Let me look it up real quick, because I don't remember right off the top of my head. It was...
Did she give birth to him? Was she still home?
During the trial.
During the trial. Oh, yeah. I think I might remember that.
Yeah, because she was 7 months pregnant when this happened.
And sometimes I think this whole speedy trial, because we're entitled to a speedy trial, maybe it's too soon.
Yeah,
I mean, you realize that she was pregnant when her husband fell out the window.
Right.
And she gave birth while the trial was going on. How quick did that all take place? Maybe she should have waited a year.
I don't know. I think that's one of those. She died in 2016. So, yeah.
I mean, this is disturbing on so many levels.
It is. And what would have been the right answer? She should have taken the deal. I mean, that's one of those things.
I don't understand why her attorneys didn't make her do that. I mean, did they pay when that trial was going on? Did they have the window people in and experts in on the window?
There was a lot in this.
I remember there was a lot.
They were not allowed to bring
the judge didn't allow it in. And why? See, I also think what happened 10 or 12 years ago.
Rhonda was saying in a thing I watched with her that they were not allowed to bring the expert in on the window. There was a lot of testimony that they had that was not allowed to be brought in, that they refused. And that's something that's going to pop up with Letitia Stout too. She's dead set that this 2 pieces of evidence are going to get her off, and there's no guarantee that evidence is going to be allowed.
What 2 pieces of evidence is she talking about?
We have no idea. None.
That's a crazy bitch.
She's psycho. She's scary. She is scary. That is a scary woman. Scary.
I know that people don't want to hear this, but I almost wish that they found her incompetent and just locked her ass away in a nut house.
She'd have gotten out. She'd have gotten out.
She would have.
I know that's what a lot of people think, because people said that the same with Nick. Go to John. And they're not equipped for people that are, I mean, a lot of times they get out. They go in there and they let them out in 10 years. And they go in there and they just dope them up. And I mean, that's where Andrea Yates is at. But Andrea needs the medication. And
oh my God.
Very, very
Let
sick.
me tell you something. I do not fault Andrea Yates for what happened to her children. That girl was not in her right mind. And
She
I know
is exactly
everyone wanted to lynch her and tear her apart, arm and pull her out and take her limbs off one by one. But that was
with
not.
Andrea, her case happened at a time that we weren't discussing mental health. We were not discussing.
It was taboo.
We weren't discussing postpartum depression. We weren't discussing regular depression. You were just told to get over it. And
get over it. She didn't get a break. She was homeschooling. Her husband was never there to help her.
Well, and they also got wrapped up in some very strange religion. And that plays into a lot of what went on here. I mean, that pastor flat out told her children being bad were her fault. They were 5 boys. They're going to be hanging off the doors.
It was the 4 boys, and she had the baby girl, right?
The baby girl. Mm-hmm.
And God only knows. And I bet you it wasn't only one postpartum depression from the little girl. I bet you it was because she had those babies.
She was ongoing for years. She
had one baby after another.
She had already been hospitalized several times.
Of course.
And the doctors had actually said no more children. She cannot do this again. And then they got pregnant again.
And then what happens after she kills her children? She winds up in jail. He divorced her and he's remarried.
She was truly mentally ill.
She was.
She is okay. Being the fact that they put her in.
She's fine. I mean, she's doing as best as can be expected.
Right. And she still has I've seen some of her emails. She can be a little off. And so you can tell she's very sick still, all these years later. But, it is so hard when it comes to mental illness and putting somebody away. And Letitia Stout needs to sit right where she's at and let karma take its place, because you watch.
And Susan Smith, that was the one.
Yeah, I think she just had a parole hearing not too long ago.
Yeah, they're not giving her parole.
Yeah.
They caught her having sex with the jail guard.
She's where she's at. I mean,
she's deserved. Yeah, which now that's to me, I have no sympathy for her.
Yeah, she's a true.
But Andrea Yates, because they were almost at the same time. Maybe a year apart.
They were. Them and Darlie were all in.
Darlie, and I have to be honest, without a question of a doubt, and I am not sitting here lying to you how I felt about Darlie. I was very, very convinced that Darlie is innocent and that she didn't do it. She loved her boy. She loved life too much. She wasn't.
Hey, hon, which one of y'all is that? We have a murder by design popping up. Must be fancy.
Hi.
She's checking on us, making sure we're behaving.
But I did. Darlie, she had a soft spot in my heart. And the only thing I'm happy about is that she wasn't put to death, because she got a death sentence.
Yet. That's why they're taking very carefully. You only have so many appeals on death row, and you have to be careful with how you file them, because once you've gone through your appeals, they can give you a death date, and that can happen very quickly. And so it is. And Texas don't play, y'all. Texas is serious.
It just made me sick.
I've got a couple of death penalty cases. We have the Rodney Reed case that we have been very outspoken about. And then I have another one I'm working on. I'm still working on it. And that's out of Dallas, Ivan Cantu. And there was a lot of that one that I'm like, he's innocent. Or I go from he's innocent to bad counsel. In part, the jury did not have all the information. There could have been reasonable doubt to he could have done this. So I literally go
in
through
stages.
All of these things. And I'll be honest, I really lean towards innocent more than any of it, but I'm still looking at everything. I have not, and I've talked to his wife quite a bit. And she's a friend of mine on Facebook, and we discuss, and I tell her I'm on the fence. I'm very honest with her. But I told her I would be a voice. I mean, that's my thing with the death penalty is one wrongful conviction is one too many. And killing somebody that is innocent just because we have a death penalty is not okay. and it needs to be looked at. It needs to be redefined. And
Texas is rough. Honestly, I think it just needs to be rewritten.
It does. They need to do some serious work with it.
Because now that we are in the social media age, there's a lot more
before they go to court.
There's a lot more information. And back in, when we were younger, 25, 30 years, 35, you waited for the newspaper to come out, or the radio station, or the news station. That's how you got your information. Whoever would have thought a computer would have linked us together? Like, you're where you are, I'm where I am, and we're talking like we're right across the table from each other.
Right.
And the knowledge that's out there, and there's these watch groups. Come on now. But some things really need to be readdressed and rewritten state by state. See, New Jersey had the death penalty many years ago, and there was someone on death row, that a case I'd like to do at some point, Robert Marshall case. But then we abolished the death penalty, and then I also read that they may have taken that off of the table, but he did get life in jail, but he died in jail a few years ago. So we don't have it here. But I think it should apply for cop killers, baby killers. If you kill a nun kill a nun or a priest.
When you've convicted somebody of a serial killer, when you've gone to court for that, there is a lot of evidence that links them to that many killings. I think James and I were talking the other day, serial rapist, because of the damage they do. Child pornography, any kind of P word. I know I have to be careful because we get in trouble when we say the child sex offender word.
Mm-hmm.
I think they deserve the death penalty.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, that evidence has to be overwhelming, and everything needs to be brought in, not partial evidence. There has to be a defense put. That was like with Ivan Cantu. He didn't have a defense. They didn't call anybody. His attorneys called no one, and flat out said, they convicted him themselves. They were like, they tell the jury, I can't tell you didn't kill him. I'm not going to tell you that, but it's not capital murder. He didn't steal this. He didn't steal that. So, they even pretty much told the jury, he killed him, but he didn't steal nothing. So to me, that's not you don't do a case like that. That's not, no. You shouldn't do death penalty on that.
No.
It needs to be very impartial. It needs to be done differently.
Very proven.
Professionals need to be on a death penalty case, not laymen. It is hard to take a mom of 5 and put her on a jury and expect her to want to kill somebody. It is hard to put somebody that's lived a rough life in there and think that they're not going to be down for the death. It's too much on them to make that decision. It needs to be lawyers and doctors and professional
I agree.
type of people
and
death penalty case.
And no one that's involved in politics.
Right. Oh God, no.
Not connected to, I shouldn't say involved in politics, connected to a politician, of a senator, of a congressman.
Right. Yeah. Because,
I'm just being realistic. A professional.
Say this person is connected to this politician down the road and they vote for death penalty on this case. And then they're kind of going back and say, well, so-and-so's friend voted death penalty. And then it comes against them. And so, no link to politicians whatsoever.
No. And I think that you need to have a very stringent questionnaire. I don't know what this, probably use the number 2 pencil still and check off a box. Well, a pencil could be erased. Why can't it be done is it done from a tablet now? How do they find these jurors?
They start out with simple questions, and then they bring them in and set them down and ask them questions in front of all the counsel and the defendant and make decisions. And people lie. There were ones that lied on Scott Peterson's case.
Absolutely.
There were ones that have lied in several of the cases. My hair is driving me crazy. And so it is just with death penalty, it needs to be done differently. just needs to be done differently. If we're keeping it, it needs to be done differently.
Or even get a different jury in to do that part.
Right.
Because these other people are just,
they've
gone through so much.
Well, and they've heard the stuff that is said, and they're like, well, strike that from the record. Jury must ignore that. Well, it's already in your head. Fancy and I talked about the other day. It's already there. That's not erasing. You don't take a dry erase thing and erase it out of your brain. It's there. Right. So they go in there, they know that. And so those things are taken into the penalty phase. So it needs to be a totally different jury that has not heard any of the evidence other than maybe like a trial transcript of what's there or whatever, or some form, or where they don't hear that stuff that doesn't need to be there and hear how it goes. I mean, it needs to be redone somehow, and it ain't working like it is.
No, it's not working. The system is broken.
It is very broken, very broken. Prison is broken. It is not helping nobody. It is not.
I mean, people need to be put away. We need prison.
We need prison. But
I'm not one of those people that believe that, we can't have it.
Lord, don't let people out.
No. We need prison. Because if we abolish prison, we might as well just be living in a third world country.
Right. We're living in the purge, purge forever. They need to reform prison. They need help. They need counseling. They need work. They need to come out better than when they went in. And until they do that, we're in a dangerous spot. But for Amber's case and her family, they will probably never get justice. And that was one thing I read. Josh Hilberling's parents, when Amber was reported that she had died, they came out and made a statement. They were very sorry to her family, and that this is not something they would ever wish on anybody, including them, and that they were very sorry for Amber's loss. And I thought that said a lot for them and their integrity with it, And I don't know. I didn't read much on whether or not they really wanted her to serve that kind of time. I think everybody can look back and say everything that went on led up to it, but that building was at fault. And
that building, that was the first thing I could remember when that came to light.
When it happened, I kept saying, how did somebody fall out of a window? I mean,
because whoever was it, Dateline, or I think it was Dateline.
Probably Dateline. I think they were the one. 2020 and Dateline. I think it was Dateline.
When they actually went in with an investigator of sorts, and they were looking at the window. I mean, it had just these little screws that you would screw a child's toy, a Fisher-Price screw. It wasn't anything that was like, it was drilled in. And the frame was so thin.
Well, they're usually pretty thin. I think it's just a different type of glass. But if you think about the high
I'm talking about the frame itself was so thin. It didn't look like it was able to hold that. I mean, that glass was 8 feet tall, 7 feet. It was big and heavy. But
if you look at the Skyrise, look at Skyrise hotels in Las Vegas. Think about the parties that happen at those Skyrises in Vegas.
Right.
People are hitting those windows or spikes out. You think about the rollers that go into these hotels with these parties, throwing shit. Nobody's falling out windows.
No.
They don't break that easy.
No. Or how do we know there wasn't a chip somewhere that had already compromised that window? Because it's compromised.
Because the thing is, if it's going to go that easy, it could have been a child up there climbing up on something and hit the glass and fall out. So no, they were at fault, and I very frustrated with that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Sadly, Levi is not going to have any kind of justice. He will never see his parents. He will never. He won't have mommy and daddy to do all the first with him ever, and that sucks. It sucks. And my heart goes out to him. It really does.
Absolutely. First and foremost.
So,
no little child.
Anyways, Fancy and I will be back next Friday for serial killer series. We will be talking Cecil Hotel and the Night Stalker next week. Super excited. It was supposed to be this week, and last week was a crazy week again. And so we've kind of put everything back, and we are super excited for that. Trying to think of what else. We have your show Thursday, Lipstick, Glasses, and Lies.
LLL.
I believe we have some updates on Gypsy coming this week. Monday is suicide prevention, finishing up Conrad Roy, and starting the Dear. Is it Dear John y'all are doing?
Yeah, Dear John.
Yes,
Dirty
Dear
John. Dirty John.
Dirty John. That's on Monday
night. He was like a dirty
Tuesday, bastard. Me and Fancy will be here for Psych Talk. And I forgot what we're talking about, Fancy. What are we talking about Tuesday? We made the decision the other day so I can start researching.
I guess you got to look at the... Got to look.
No, she didn't text it in there. We were talking about it like this and didn't make any kind of notes.
I'm just being sarcastic.
I don't know. Did I? Wait, let's see. I have notes here. Let's see. Oh, no, that's podcast. Oh, wait.
Podcast Wednesday.
Oh, look. Fancy's not even sure, so it's not just me.
Can I say it's a senior moment? Listen,
I don't know. There was something really cool we're talking about Tuesday for Psych Talk. You know, Fancy and I love talking the crazy shit. So, because we're both kind of, and so it's always entertaining. And
you think you're the only one? I got a few screws loose too. So listen.
What the heck is that?
What?
Cult and brainwashing. That is what we're talking about.
What the hell was that?
I don't know what that is.
Wait. Who's this guy?
I don't know.
Show that up.
I'm fixing to block this user.
Now you see.
All right. He's on Facebook, so we are blocking him.
Was he the one that's corrected you on
block user
when you were talking about Aaron Hernandez and the wrestler? Was that the guy that was about the wrestler?
No, I don't think so. That was a regular name.
Okay. No, it wasn't a regular name. But this is totally, please.
Access. Reconnect to Facebook. Why did it lose access to Facebook?
Well, can we go back to it later? Can we wait.
Click here to reconnect your destination.
Who is?
Let's see. Fancy, I don't know what I did. I have it all kinds of. I don't know. It shows we're still on there. Online Quran is what that is. So that is some scammer. Please do not click that link, people.
Do not.
Open brainwashing is Tuesday. Then the week after is serial killer tokens. Oh, yes. This coming week, we're talking the cults and brainwashing. The week after, we're doing serial killer tokens. Serial killers tend to take things of their victims. It's
a trophy.
It's a trophy. It's creepy, and we're gonna go there.
I find like eyeballs in jars somewhere or something in the basement. That's what I saw in Criminal Minds.
That's gonna go with that Horton case I talked about earlier.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm afraid that if you send something to me, there might be something.
20-year-old dead body upstairs. I just can't. I can't.
Did you say he still had his sneakers on?
He had everything. His shoes, his socks, his pants, his t-shirt.
Oh my.
20 years, kid. I just can't.
I mean, that was
okay. I tried blocking and it said I lost access, so I didn't know. Fancy.
It was like when my brother, God bless his soul, he's no longer with us on this earth. He was telling me about the shark that ate the guy out of the boat because they lived in Florida, and he said the guy was just fishing in the boat, and this shark came up and it grabbed him. And it ate him. And he had his sneakers on. And I said,
was he talking about Jaws? Or
no, it was something real. It was real. And I went, well, what did you think? Like the guy was going to give him a chance, the shark was going to give him a chance to
wait, let me take my shoes off.
So when they opened up the shark, the guy still had his shoes on. Like,
well, that's kind of like they used to have the law that if you drove across state lines or whatever. You could have a weapon in your car, but the bullets in the trunk, or the bullets in the car and the gun in the trunk. You couldn't have them together. And we were like, so what do you do? Tell the criminal, hold on a minute, I got to get my gun out of the trunk. I mean, why drive with it if you're not going to have it loaded? This is Texas. I agree. We drive around with loaded weapons, but
I don't know anything about weapons.
Oh yeah, it's insane. So, anyways, everybody, thank you for joining. It has been fun. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Stay COVID safe.
Stay warm if you're on the East Coast. And
hug your loved ones, because you never know when it's going to be the last moment you have with them. And
stay safe and well. Take care of each other. That's the most important thing.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell for notifications, and follow us on Murder by Design on Facebook. Join the group, answer the questions, because we don't let you in if you don't answer. We have some good interviews coming up, a few that we're not talking about yet. Look for our interview with Kirk Nurmi coming up, and we have one with Diane Downs' brother. We're probably going to be releasing tidbits of. I don't know. It was.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I'm going to say it.
Oh, anyway. We knew it was going to be fun, or not fun in a ha-ha way. Fun as in
holy hell. I just want to know what kind of Kool-Aid they still drink after all of these years, that it still has that kind of profound effect on them.
All I can say is my thought process was they were all like this. The whole family must be just like that, because I felt like he was the exact same as Diane.
Yeah. I said it too. But yet the strangest thing was, and not to blow your cover with this case, was when the daughter that is that tiny?
No, that's Raina. She always likes to get on camera. Come on,
hi, Raina.
Up here. Come up
she's
here.
Beautiful.
Oh, look, come on. This is my service dog. Actually, she is.
Aw.
Come on.
You could ride her. Hi, Raina.
Can you look here?
So,
look up here.
I was just disappointed with the way he spoke to Rebecca in an interview.
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, that was very frustrating. And I like her. I've come to like her. I don't know her, but I've listened to her podcasts and imagine her situation. Imagine her life.
I couldn't imagine growing up the daughter of Diane Downs and not knowing if that was why I was making my decisions, my bad behavior, all of those things.
And she questioned everything. She questioned
wanting to repeat those sins, not wanting to repeat it. And she is a pretty strong woman. I love to hear her story. I love to listen to her story.
Her story is amazing.
Yeah.
And she's just an amazing, how she persevered.
We've got some really cool content coming up in Patreon, so make sure y'all join Patreon. I don't remember. I've got to write down the cost on that. It's not too much. Over on the webpage, madgingerintertainment.com. You can read about all of us on there. We've got some really cool bios. Fancy's been working her tail off.
It's not east to do live. I mean, it's tongue twisting sentences and words and like last night. Last night I was.
Oh, you were great last night.
I was like lies, lipstick, and lashes, or lips, or whatever.
I am the one that Fancy's just like, oh hell, I have a hard time following the script. I
just can't. I have maybe ADD, OCD. I don't know. One of the D's.
All of the above. Yeah.
All of the above. I'll check them off. But
that's why
you lose your spot. It's impossible.
2 hours. Yeah, right, it is, and that's why I tend to make all of my writing really big. So I'm like,
I had my script at 20 something. How much larger could it be? I still lost track of. I still lost my place.
Right. Patreon is $5 a month. $50 for the year on madgingerintertainment.com, and you get some goodies. There's all kinds of really goodies. Our merch should be up soon. We've got some really cute merchandise coming. Oh my God, I cannot with that stuff. It is so cute. We have a lot happening. We have a lot happening and coming, and we are hitting 2021 balls to the walls, and we are getting it done.
And you could find us if anybody has an interesting story that you would like, drop us a line so we could.
The Good Wives.
There's always one of us that.
Good Wives with a V to Lord, what is it? Good Wives.
Oh, Wine and Crime is March. Wine and Crime is March 27. Oh, yeah. That's going to be fun. When are we
releasing the rest of that information? I don't know. We'll have that information up so you can sign up. There's several ways of signing up with that, and working on a cold case with Cheryl McCullough, which we love. We love our Mac. She is pretty awesome. And so make sure to follow us, guys, and have a good night. And thank y'all for joining.
Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Good night.